In this video, I intend to take you through the Schengen visa application process. So if this is something that might be of interest to you, sit down, relax, and let's get into it. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I intend to take you through the Schengen visa application process. So if this is something that might be of interest to you, sit down, relax, and let's get into it. My name is Koi Mwangibion, and in case this is your first time here, feel free to subscribe and join this wonderful family. And of course, if you're returning, you know that I really appreciate you. So in this video, we are going to go direct to the whole process of visa application for the Schengen countries and specifically for the Norway visa application process. To start with, I would want us to understand what a Schengen visa is. And a Schengen visa is a visa that allows you to stay in any member of the Schengen area for up to 90 days for either tourism or business purposes. In case your intention is one of the above, you can apply for a Schengen visit visa. And for you to apply this Schengen visa, you will apply it in the embassy of the country that you will spend most of your days in. So in this case, I am going to concentrate on Norway visit visa. A Norway visitor visa allows you to stay in Norway for a period of 90 days within a period of 180 days. When applying for a Schengen visa, make sure that you apply in the embassy of the country that you will spend most of your days in. But in that period of 90 days, you are allowed to visit other Schengen member countries. You have to submit your application to the embassy that is your main destination. So in case you're going to Norway, you have to submit your application in the Norwegian embassy for you to be able now to travel to Norway and visit the other Schengen countries. One of the things to note when you're applying for the Schengen visa is that, or any other visa, is that you need to apply early in advance. Please don't rush to apply your visa on a date that is near your travel date. Make sure you make your application at least 1 month prior to your traveling date, as this will give them more time to process and to make any changes of your application. The other thing for you to note is that do not buy the plane ticket before you're granted the visa. This is a mistake that many people make, and kindly don't buy your plane ticket before you're granted the visa. The other thing I would want you to note is that you have to submit your application online before you hand in the documentation to the embassy or to the visa processing office. So make sure you do the online application before you do the manual work. Another thing you would want to note, which is of course almost obvious, is that after handing in your application, don't forget to get your fingerprints, because after submitting your application, you might walk out of the visa application office, which will leave you not have completed your process. So make sure you give your fingerprints and of course take the pass photo before you leave the embassy or the visa application office. So those are the few things that I would want you to note even before you go ahead with the application process. The main thing that you need to do in this whole process is, first of all, to gather all the documents that you will need in this whole process, and make sure that the documents are in original and in copy. But when submitting these documents to the embassy, you will submit the copies, but you must show the original. So make sure you bring both to the embassy or to the visa application office for them to see the original documents and confirm that you have the originals, and then also bring the copies that they will be left with. So that is something that you don't have to forget. So the documents that you will need, number one will be the cover letter, and you will get the cover letter from the application portal. So make sure you get the cover letter from the application portal. A passport size photo which is not less than 3 months. So it should be, of course, according to the required measurements. So make sure you have the right passport size photo and not older than 3 months. The third document that will be required of you is the passport. Of course, your passport. And your passport should be valid at least 3 months after your travel. So it should not be expiring within the first month of your visit. So make sure that your passport is not expiring soon. And of course, the passport also should have some blank pages, at least 2 blank pages, to allow you to get the stamps or the visa printed on it. So in case you need to travel, make sure you make prior arrangement in case your passport is almost finished to get a new one. The other thing you will need is photocopy of your passport biodata page. So make sure you get a colored photocopy of your passport biodata page. And of course, all the other pages that have been used. So in case of the previous visas, you have to have the copies of them too. And just in case your passport is new and you have visas from the old passport, make sure you have a copy of the same too. In case you're not a Kenyan, you also need to have a valid permit if you're applying in Kenya. So make sure if you're a foreigner and you're applying from Kenya, you have a valid permit from the country where you reside. You also need to make sure that you have your ID copy, that is the original and the photocopy. For the refugees, you have to have a certified copy of a valid refugee status document. You have to have a preliminary round-trip airline ticket indicating the travel date, the names, the flight numbers, and specifying the entry and the exit. So make sure you have the preliminary ticket. You don't have to buy the original ticket. So this is just something to confirm that you are ready with the plane booking. You also need to have a travel insurance, and in this case, a one-page travel document with the name and the policy number. And the document should state that the applicant is covered by a Schengen travel insurance equivalent to 30,000 euros. And this covers you for all your medical expenses. For your occupation, you should submit the originals of the company that has employed you, your salary. Like, you should document everything about your occupation. Make sure you have original documents imprinted on your company letterhead and signed, of course, by your employer. And if you're a student, you should have a signed letter from your university or your college indicating that you're a student there and that you have a permission for the days that you will be absent or that you will be in this Schengen area. If pensioned, you also have to document the same. You have to show proof of sufficient funds. So in this case, you need a 3 months bank statement from your bank showing that you have money that will sustain you during the period of your stay in the Schengen country or in the Schengen area. The bank statement should be certified by the bank. They should be original and certified. An alternative of this would be a letter from your sponsor or your host in Norway indicating that they are able to sustain you during your stay there. And this should also be signed by your sponsor who is in Norway. You also need an invitation letter from your host in Norway indicating your purpose of visit, the days you will spend there. And I also noticed that they require an outline of how you will be spending your time there. So in case they should have a plan on how you will spend. In case you're spending 1 month, they should indicate like every day what you will be doing there. That is really helpful. I have noticed that when applying. In case you're visiting a friend or a family member, you have to have a proof of relationship. So for a friend, you have to document this by writing and of course signing that this is how we are related to this and such a person. For your case to be strong, you have to really give evidences. Like if it's a friend you're inviting, you have to really indicate where you met, how your relationship has been so far. And that is the same case to family. So in case it's a family member that has invited you, make sure you really document your relationship by maybe the birth certificates to show that this is my sister or my brother or my whatever, however you're related. Make sure you have good documentation. And the tip here is to include even photos. Explain with photos your relationship, even with photos. For me, I usually even write on the photos like, this is where we met, this photo indicates this and such place, we were doing this and this, so that they can really see that your relationship is firm. Make sure you do good documentation if you want this visa granted. And in case you're going for tourism, you need to have your hotel bookings and everything well indicated. So the hotel booking, the days you'll spend in that hotel, the activities you will be doing during your stay. So make sure the key here is documentation. Don't leave out the small details that you will find like, this I should ignore. No, those are the really meaningful details when it comes to visa application. So in this one, I think the UDI, especially for the one that I'm conversant with, the Norway visa, really needs a lot of, explain to them. Don't let them give you a call. Don't give them the hassle of giving you a call to ask you this and that. No, make sure you document it beforehand so that when they are already going through your papers, they will have all the answers they need. After now you have gathered all these documents, you have them in hand. Now you have to do the online registration and payment. This online registration is not hard at all. In fact, I don't see any reason why you should pay an agent to do this for you. These processes are so straight to the point. All you need to do is to follow every step that you have been shown there. So in this case, the checklist is very helpful, and it is just a matter of following it to the letter and you're good to go. And making sure at least you have a strong case by documenting it so well. Do the online registration and the online payment, because the visa fees will be paid online. You will pay the visa fees online in the application portal. When doing the registration, you will pay the visa fees, and also you will make a booking of your appointment date. So this appointment is for you to now hand in the documents in hand. And after now handing in the documents, that's when now your application process really starts. Because until they receive the documents, that's now when they start processing your case. After you do the online process, you have to hand in the documents to the VFS office. In Kenya, the VFS office is in Mudhangari Drive, Westlands. So the things you need to bring with you when handing in the application at the VFS office are application form printout that they emailed to you after doing the online application. You have to have a checklist and the documents listed on the checklist. Make sure you bring the checklist with you and everything that has been listed in the checklist. And your passport now that is valid for 3 months onwards, it should not be expired or expiring in the next 1 month. The other thing to bring is your passport photo that complies with the international standards. So every country has its own requirements. So make sure if you're applying for Norway, you have the right measurements for your passport according to the Norwegian embassy requirements. And of course, the travel health insurance. Make sure you get the right travel insurance. There are some insurance agencies that are not allowed in the Schengen areas. Here is the link to the insurance companies that are allowed in the Schengen area. And of course, you need to have the travel itinerary. For the travel itinerary, it is possible for you to apply it and print it out yourself. You don't have to pay for a plane ticket for that. The application process begins once all the documents have been submitted to the VFS office or to the embassy. So in this case, if you're applying from Kenya, you take it to once you submit your documents to the VFS office, then that is when they will send it to the embassy and you will receive a notification via email or via SMS to show that now they have received your documents and the processing has begun. So they are very good at communication when regarding this. make sure you don't send someone to apply your visa. You have to go there in person, because of course they need to intake your fingerprints and your photo. So you cannot send someone to do your visa application. But of course there is something called the power of the attorney if you want someone else to handle your case, which if you're just doing a visit visa or any other visa, I don't see the need of paying someone, because it's something that is so easy to do. It's straight to the point, so you can handle it yourself if you decide to. The key here is having all the documents that are indicated in the checklist ready, and of course to be a person that likes documenting everything. So for example, if you want to have a strong case when doing these visa applications, one thing I can advise you is, if for example you're visiting family, have enough photo documentation. Indicate your relationship. If like you have been together since you were born, make sure you indicate it through photos. Print out your photos in A4 papers, like just paste them in an A4 paper, and you will have like a very strong case. In case you're in business, give your business documents, your bank statements. Let them know that you have a business to come back to in Kenya. Don't just ignore these small things, because they really matter when it comes to visa application, when it comes to trusting you that you will come back to your country. So if it's school, make sure you get a letter from your school. Don't leave any opportunity for you being called back for additional documents. Make sure you enlist every document that will be required of you. Gather all the photos that you will need as proof of the relationship. Gather any other thing that you will think will be useful, and make sure you have this when going to submit in the VFS office. After you have submitted all your documents, the processing time for a visit visa takes, let's say, 15 to 45 days. So it's not a long wait. And as I told you, especially when you have all your documentation right, 15 days are good enough for you to receive your visa. And I have observed that if your documentation is is good enough, I don't see the reason they will deny you. Because if you have applied for a visit visa and your intention is right, that you will still come back to your country, I don't see why they will deny you the visa. The key here is to make sure you go through the checklist quite well, understand it, and gather all the documents. And after you gather all your documents, make sure you have your originals and your copies as you go to submit them to the VFS office. And after that, I believe you're going to have a successful application process, and you will get a yes. Yeah, and thank you so much for keeping it here. Until the next one, goodbye.